My girlfriend asked for an open relationship out of nowhere, and now she's regretting it big time. One evening, as we were sitting on the couch, my girlfriend casually brought up the idea of an open relationship. She said it like it was the most natural thing in the world. I was blindsided, to say the least. Up until that point, our relationship was strong, or so I thought. We had been together for nearly 3 years, and everything seemed fine. But in that moment, she casually mentioned the idea of exploring other people, as if it was nothing more than a suggestion for dinner plans. At first, I thought she was joking, but when I saw the seriousness in her eyes, I realized she wasn't. I asked her why, what had changed, and she said it was just something she was curious about, something she needed to explore. I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. I agreed to it, trying to be understanding. Little did I know, it would be the biggest mistake I would ever make. And now, she's regretting it big time. Let me tell you how it all went down. Before that conversation, everything seemed perfect. Emma and I had been dating for over 2 years. We lived in a small apartment in the city, enjoying a quiet life together. We were your typical couple, happy, in love, and planning our future. We'd often talk about moving in together for good, and the thought of starting a life together seemed so natural. People often told us how good we looked together, how we had something special and real. We didn't just love each other. We genuinely enjoyed spending time together. Our relationship had its ups and downs, but like any relationship, we always found a way to work through them. Then, one evening, everything changed. Emma and I were sitting on the couch, relaxed after a long day of work, talking about random things like we always did. It felt like just another night, until Emma casually said something that would change everything. I've been thinking about something. I think we should have an open relationship. At first, I thought she was joking. It didn't make sense, not with the connection we had. But when I looked at her, I saw that her expression was serious. I was caught off guard, confused, and just asked why. She explained that she didn't feel unhappy with me, but rather, she wanted to explore more, meet new people, and experience things that an open relationship could offer. She told me that she was curious about seeing what else was out there, but that it wasn't about me. It was just a desire for something different. The idea was foreign to me, and my heart raced. We'd always talked openly about our feelings, but this felt like a shift in everything we'd worked on. I couldn't wrap my mind around it. I thought that maybe it was just a passing thought, but as I listened, I realized that she was serious. She wanted me to consider it, to try it, and keep an open mind. After hearing her out, I didn't know what to say. I felt hurt, unsure, and uncomfortable, but I didn't want to lose her, so I reluctantly agreed. I convinced myself it wasn't a big deal, that I could live with it, maybe even grow from it. But something inside me was unsettled. I couldn't shake the feeling that this was going to change everything. What I didn't realize was that agreeing to this would unravel everything I thought I knew about our relationship, and my feelings for Emma would be tested in ways I never imagined. When Emma brought up the idea of an open relationship, I was shocked, but I didn't immediately reject it. After all, we had always communicated well, and I trusted her deeply. We had talked about everything, our hopes, dreams, fears, and even our frustrations. I thought we were in sync, and nothing in my mind suggested that we'd face a challenge this big. But when she proposed the open relationship, it felt like something new, something unfamiliar. I didn't want to seem controlling or possessive, and so I agreed to give it a try, thinking maybe I could understand her perspective, maybe I could open up and not feel threatened by the idea. I tried to convince myself that it might be good for both of us, that we could have new experiences without it damaging our bond. But deep down, I knew I wasn't entirely okay with it. For the first few weeks, I kept telling myself it was no big deal. Emma was still the same person I'd fallen in love with, kind, loving, and supportive. But little things started changing. She was more distant, more distracted, and our usual cozy nights together started feeling awkward. I felt like I was constantly trying to make her happy, trying to make it work, but the cracks were starting to show. Every time I asked her about it, she reassured me that everything was fine, that she still loved me, and that nothing would change. But deep down, I felt something slipping away. She started meeting new people, and I tried to ignore the pangs of jealousy that would arise when she told me about her dates. I tried to be supportive, telling myself it was her decision, her choice. But as the weeks went on, I found myself wondering if I had made the right choice. It wasn't long before things began to escalate. Emma's relationship with the people she was meeting became more frequent, and I started noticing signs, little things that seemed off. She was always on her phone, and there were times when she was late coming home. I asked her if everything was all right, but she reassured me that it was all just harmless fun. Despite her reassurances, my gut told me something was wrong. I couldn't shake the feeling that the trust we'd once shared was slipping away, and I had no idea how to stop it. I should have been more vocal about my discomfort, but I was afraid of pushing her away. I didn't know it then, but everything was about to come crashing down in a way I could never have anticipated. It all came to a head one night when I came home early from work. I had finished a project ahead of schedule, and instead of just staying at the office, I decided to surprise Emma. I wanted to show her that I was thinking about her, that I was still invested in our relationship, despite everything that had been happening. I've been trying to keep the doubts at bay, but I was starting to feel the weight of them pressing on my chest. When I walked into the apartment, I immediately noticed something was different. The place was unusually quiet, and there was a strange smell in the air, like perfume, but not Emma's. My heart skipped a beat. I tried to push the thought away, but it wouldn't go. I called out her name, but there was no response. I slowly walked through the apartment, wondering where she was. It was late, and I didn't expect her to be out, but I still felt an odd sense of unease. I checked the bedroom. Nothing. The bathroom. Empty. I was about to turn back when I saw it. A piece of paper on the kitchen counter, almost tucked away, as if it had been placed there on purpose. Curious and increasingly unsettled, I walked over to it. As soon as I saw the writing, I froze. It was a receipt from a local hotel. I knew that Emma had been meeting new people, but seeing it written out on paper in front of me made everything feel real. The receipt wasn't for anything significant, but the time on it was what caught my attention. It was from earlier in the day, when Emma had claimed to be out running errands. I couldn't stop myself. I grabbed my phone and sent her a text, asking where she was. I waited for a response, but it didn't come immediately. Instead, my mind raced. Maybe there was an explanation. Perhaps this was something harmless. But as I kept staring at the receipt, I couldn't shake the suspicion gnawing at me. It was then that I made a decision. I would find out what was really going on. I couldn't keep living in the dark, pretending everything was fine when I felt this overwhelming sense of doubt. Later that night, when Emma finally texted back, I didn't immediately bring up the receipt. I asked if she was still out and when she would be home. She responded that she was finishing up a meeting with a friend and would be back in about an hour. I waited to try to calm my nerves, but when Emma walked in the door that night, her demeanor seemed off. She looked guilty, but she quickly masked it with a smile. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but everything felt wrong. I sat down at the kitchen table, waiting for her to notice that something was different about me. "Hey, babe," she said, trying to sound cheerful as she set her purse down. "How was your day?" "Fine," I replied flatly. "I got out early. How was yours?" She hesitated before answering, a pause that made my stomach churn. "It was good. Just, a lot going on." I nodded, trying to hide the hurt I felt. "So, about the hotel receipt?" Her face instantly flushed. I could see the panic in her eyes. She wasn't as good at hiding things as she thought. That's not what you think," she stammered, taking a step back. "I was meeting a friend." "A friend?" I repeated, not believing her for a second. "A friend at a hotel?" "Emma, we agreed we'd be honest with each other." She paused, searching for the right words. "I didn't want to tell you. I didn't want to hurt you." I stood up, my heart pounding. "You didn't want to hurt me? But you're doing it right now. All the secrecy, all the lies. You've been meeting someone behind my back, and I've been the one kept in the dark." Her face softened as she looked at me, but there was no way to fix what had already been broken. The truth hung in the air between us like a cold, suffocating fog. I felt sick, betrayed, and overwhelmed by the realization that my suspicions had been right all along. Emma tried to explain herself, but I could barely hear her. It was like a muffled noise, distant and irrelevant. I had been betrayed, not just by her actions, but by everything I thought I knew about our relationship. The trust that had once been unshakable was gone in an instant. "What's going on, Emma?" I asked quietly, my voice trembling. "Who are you really seeing? What's happening here?" She bit her lip, her eyes watering. "It's just someone I met recently. I didn't want to hurt you. I swear it wasn't supposed to go this far. I thought I could handle it. I thought you loved me." I whispered, feeling the weight of her betrayal crush me. "But this isn't love. You're playing games with me. You've been lying to me for so long." Emma's face crumbled as she stepped toward me, reaching for my hand. But I pulled it away, stepping back. "I can't do this anymore, Emma," I said. "I trusted you. And now, I don't even know who you are." She stared at me, speechless, tears streaming down her face. The silence that followed was the heaviest I had ever felt. I wanted to yell, to scream, but I couldn't. The pain was too deep. Instead, I stood there, watching the person I loved unravel before my eyes, knowing that nothing would ever be the same again. The days following that night were some of the hardest I had ever experienced. Emma and I barely spoke. Every word she uttered felt hollow, like an attempt to patch up something that had already been shattered beyond repair. The once warm home we shared felt like a cold, empty space. And while she tried to justify her actions, my mind had already begun to race ahead, piecing together everything that had been wrong in our relationship. The truth of the situation settled into my bones, heavier with each passing hour. Emma had been seeing someone else, not just an acquaintance, but someone who had been inserted into our lives with the skill of a master manipulator. It all made sense now. The late nights, the secretive behavior, the constant need for space that she never used to ask for. I had seen the subtle changes in her over the last few months. At first, I attributed it to stress from work or maybe the general routine of life taking its toll. But there was something deeper, something I couldn't place. She had become distant, as if she was living in two worlds at once. One world was the one she had with me, her partner of several years. The other world was a world I knew nothing about, a world she had kept hidden away, tucked in the corners of her mind. I had been blind. I had been too trusting. I believed in her promises, in the vows we had made to each other. But the truth hit me like a brick wall, and it was worse than I had imagined. The mechanic. That was the person who had taken her away from me. The realization crushed me as I replayed everything I'd seen, everything I had overlooked. It wasn't just some fling. It wasn't just a mistake. It had been an affair. It had been something real to her. Something deep. For days, I could barely look at her. I felt like I was living in a nightmare I couldn't escape from. I kept asking myself how I had missed the signs. how I had allowed this betrayal to take root in our lives without seeing it for what it was. I had loved Emma. I had trusted her. But now I had to face the truth. She had never truly been honest with me. Not once. Her affair was not the only thing that I was discovering. As I dug deeper, I began to realize just how much of my life had been shared with someone who had not been loyal, someone who had not been invested in us the way I had believed. I questioned every conversation, every shared moment. Had it all been a lie? Were the memories I cherished with her nothing more than a carefully constructed facade? I began to unravel the intricacies of the affair. The more I learned, the worse it got. Emma had been seeing the mechanic for months, longer than I had known. She had been slipping away from me bit by bit, all while playing the role of the perfect girlfriend. She had lied about her whereabouts, made excuses for why she was unavailable, and hid her messages and calls from me. But it wasn't just the lies that hurt. It was the fact that she had never once considered telling me the truth. She had kept me in the dark, assuming I would never find out. Then, it all clicked into place. The time she had come home late, her excuses about work or needing some time for herself. It was all a cover. It wasn't just that she had cheated. It was that she had been living a double life, and I had been the fool. I couldn't understand why she had done it, why she had chosen someone else over me. I thought we were happy. I thought we had something real. But the more I reflected, the more I understood that this was not just a random act of betrayal. This was a calculated decision on her part. She had fallen out of love with me, or perhaps never really loved me at all. And rather than being honest with me, she had chosen to seek validation elsewhere. The affair had not only shattered my trust in Emma, it shattered my trust in people in general. I had always believed that love was a bond between two people, something sacred and unbreakable. But Emma had shown me that love could be betrayed, that promises could be broken, and that the people you trust most could turn their backs on you when you least expect it. As I confronted Emma again, this time with the full weight of everything I knew, she finally broke down. The wall she had built around herself began to crumble, and for the first time, I saw the real Emma. The one who was filled with guilt, regret, and shame. But it was too late. The damage had already been done. I could see the regret in her eyes, the sorrow that she felt for her actions, but it did not change the fact that she had chosen someone else over me. She had broken my heart, and no amount of remorse would ever make up for the betrayal. I never meant for it to go this far, she said, her voice trembling. I never wanted to hurt you. I didn't know what to do. But you didn't know what to do. I replied, my voice cold. You just didn't care enough to choose me. She looked at me, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry. I really am. I didn't want to lose you. But you did, I said flatly. You lost me the moment you decided to betray me. She reached for me, but I stepped back. There was nothing left to salvage. The woman I had trusted, the woman I had loved, had destroyed everything between us. And I couldn't forgive her. Not now. Not after everything. The days that followed were a blur of emotion, regret, and cold determination. Emma was gone, and so was the future I had envisioned with her. I spent countless hours thinking about how everything had unraveled, feeling like I'd lost not only a partner, but a part of myself. I was angry, heartbroken, and confused. But through it all, one thing became clear. I could never go back to the way things were. I tried to stay composed in front of her, but it was almost impossible. The betrayal cut too deep. It wasn't just that Emma had cheated on me. It was that she had chosen to disrespect everything we had built together. And no amount of apologies or tears could undo the damage. There was a period of silence between us. Emma called me several times, sent me texts begging for forgiveness, and even showed up on my doorstep in tears, but I did not give in. I had to be strong. I could not allow myself to be manipulated by her guilt. I had to protect myself from further hurt, from falling back into a cycle of deceit. I had no intention of forgiving her. Not then. Not ever. Emma had made her choice, and now I had to make mine. I was done being the person who always gave second chances, the one who overlooked red flags in the name of love. I was done with self-sacrifice. It was time to focus on myself and start healing from the emotional wreckage she had left behind. The hardest part was the silence that lingered in the spaces she once filled. Her absence was suffocating. I missed the comfort of having someone to come home to, the companionship, the little moments we shared. But all of those moments had been tainted by her betrayal, and I couldn't allow myself to be nostalgic for a past that was no longer real. I decided to move forward with my life, to reclaim the independence I had once forgotten. I threw myself into work, into my hobbies, and into spending time with people who truly cared about me. I reconnected with old friends who had always been there for me, the ones who I had unintentionally distanced myself from while I was consumed by the relationship. Slowly, but surely, I began to rebuild myself. Emma tried to reach out to me multiple times in the weeks that followed. She apologized over and over, admitting that she had been selfish and wrong. But each apology felt hollow, each confession a reminder of the person she had become. I had heard all the excuses before. She was sorry. She didn't know why she had done it. She had been confused. She wanted to fix things. But I had heard enough. The truth was that her affair had destroyed the person I once was. I was no longer the naive, trusting person who believed in love without conditions. I had been broken, but not beyond repair. The pain was still there, lingering in the corners of my mind, but I knew that the only way to move on was to cut ties completely. I made it clear to Emma that there was no going back. We could no longer be friends, no longer try to salvage what little remained. She had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. In many ways, I felt sorry for her. She was now facing the consequences of her actions. She had ruined everything. Her relationship with me, the trust we once shared, and the future we had planned. But I no longer felt anger toward her. That would have meant that I still cared. It was painful to realize, but it was the truth. I no longer cared. I had spent so much time focused on trying to fix something that was broken beyond repair. And now I was done. I was moving on, and I wasn't looking back. The process of letting go was slow, but eventually I found peace. I no longer felt consumed by anger. I no longer felt the ache in my chest when I thought of Emma. Slowly, the memories began to fade, replaced by the strength I had found in myself. I had learned that I was capable of so much more than I had given myself credit for. I had learned that my worth was not tied to someone else's ability to love and respect me. In time, I began to trust again. Not easily, but I allowed myself to open up to the idea of love once more. I was cautious, guarded, but I knew that I deserved better than the betrayal I had endured. As for Emma, I eventually heard through mutual friends that she had started seeing the mechanic again. I wasn't surprised. It seemed fitting, really. She had chosen him over me, and now she had to live with the consequences of that choice. I had moved on, but I couldn't help but wonder if she ever truly realized what she had lost. I doubted it. I had my own life to live now. I wasn't going to dwell on the past or let it define me. I had taken my time, I had healed, and I had emerged stronger than before. And while I would never forget what Emma had done to me, I would not let it ruin my future. I had learned a painful lesson, but it was a lesson that I would carry with me always. I had been betrayed, yes, but in the end, it was her that had lost the most. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon so you never miss out on more captivating stories.